Galloway's Support Through Side Loss. Galloway's Get Active presents Bob Baker, Motorsport truckie.
So I'd just like to say a big thank you to Bob for being with us today. Bob, some of you may have heard on our talking newspapers. He does a lot of recording for us. Gill's in the room as well today. Bob and Gill, they record a lot of papers, and they also record the new Galloway's Get Together radio show for us. So Bob's here to talk to us today about his life as a motorsport truckie. So I shall hand over to Bob. Hopefully you can all hear him.
Thank you very much indeed, James. A very good afternoon to everybody. I'll just check that everybody can hear me okay.
Yeah.
I would say that was a yes, Bob. I think everyone can hear okay.
Is that okay? That's great. Well, a very good afternoon to everybody, and nice to be invited to do a talk. Now, it's my first talk, so we're just going to try and do the best we can. If you want me to stop at any time, or you think I'm speaking too fast and you can't understand me, just ask me to stop and I can go back and repeat what I've had to say. But basically, as James said, with Gill, we do the talking newspapers, we do the What's Going On guide, and we also do the new Galloway's Get Together show, which I hope some of you have listened to, and I hope you enjoy it. We've actually been planning another show this morning that we should be able to record tomorrow. I'm 66 years old and just sort of semi-retired, but still going to be doing a little bit of motorsport, hopefully. But the government are thrashing back at us because they're trying to charge me a lot of tax for working after I've retired. So we'll just have to see how I've gone on. I started racing myself back in the 80s with a Formula One stock car, which is a single-seater, purpose-built race car. The first car had a 429 V8 small block engine. And then I moved on to a Chevy, a big block, which also was a V8, and that produced around about 475 brake horsepower. So there was a lot of power there. The car weighed about 1.5 tons. So it went on quite nicely. It had a 4-barreled carburetor. And if you're not quite sure what one of those is, it's the barrels are just like holes that the petrol are poured into. So as I put my accelerator down, it uses the first 2 barrels. It fills those with petrol, and they go into the engine. And the further I put my foot down, the other 2 barrels come in as well. And actually, the fuel pump had to produce 1.5 pints a minute of petrol to be able to keep up with my foot. So if it was on the road, it would probably do about 8 miles to the gallon. So we had to keep filling the old girl up. And I used to race it on oval circuits, such as the old speedway circuits at Manchester, Bradford, Coventry, Kings Lynn, Mildenhall, Sheffield, and others around the country. Is everybody hearing me okay? Are we doing all right? I'm not going too fast?
Yeah, that's fine. Thumbs up everywhere, I think so.
All right, that's great. Thank you. And with that racing, the first heat went on for 16 laps. And it's all left-hand bends because it's an oval. The rally lads used to laugh at us and said, we can only go around left-hand bends. We can't make it around the right one because that's the way the circuit was. And out of the 16 laps, there were 6 people went through to the final. If you didn't make it in the first heat, there was actually a consolation race so that you could have another go and see if you could get in the final itself. And the final was 25 laps long, and there would be probably around about 25 to 30 cars on a half-mile oval in the final. So it was quite crowded, and it was a contact sport. You could push people out the way or just make them move over a little bit if they were under the feet, or if you were under the feet, you'd get shoved out the way as well. So it was pretty exciting. And they had a colour system for the roof, and the colours were white, yellow, blue, and red. But the red ones were the fastest cars and the white ones were the slowest. So what they used to do a reverse grid. They put all the red ones to the back and the white ones at the front. So all the faster drivers had to make their way through the field to be able to win the race. So it was really exciting. I still think that they should do that with Formula One as well. It will make it far more exciting to watch the race than just 2 or 3 cars going off into the distance and nothing happening until a pit stop. But that's just my opinion.
I agree with you on that, Bob.
Yeah, it just would make it so much better. I mean, if you watch Max Verstappen in the wet when he came from the rear of the grid and made it to the front of the grid, it just shows, you know, how exciting it is. But you know, a lot of teams don't like that because they've actually got to work for the living. I used to transport the car in an old coach. I don't know whether some of you might be able to remember the old Bedford. We used to call it a Chinese 6 because it had 2 sets of wheels at the front that steered. And we cut the back of the coach out and made a hydraulic system for the door at the back, made the back of the coach into a door, and then we had ramps that we could drive up into. And we could actually sleep 8 people in the coach, as well as have seats and a kitchen and a washing area and everything for when we went away. But it didn't always go well. I once sold our deep freeze. Now, my good lady, Rita, is sat behind me, so she remembers this well. I needed some parts for my engine, and I couldn't afford it. I'd run out of money. So I sold the deep freeze, which was okay, but it was still full of food at the time. So we had to put everything in the neighbour's deep freeze. So I could take this deep freeze away and get enough money to get the parts for the engine. So it was a little bit quiet for the first couple of days, but it seemed to work out all right after that. And I did about 4 years of racing until I ran out of money. And then it was just a family time and just watching motorsport. Then I couldn't afford to be involved in it anymore.
It's not a cheap hobby, is it, motorsport?
It's not, no. And the faster you go, the faster you want to go. So it costs a lot of money, but we had a lot of fun doing it, and it involved all the family as well, so it was good. And then in 2007, I started working for Eddie Stobbart Motorsport as a motorsport truckie, working with a company called M Sport, which the picture behind James is the M Sport car, or one of the M Sport cars. I started working with those in 2007, as I say, and they're based up in Cumbria, a place called Cockermouth. And with them, I traveled all over Europe, into the Middle East, transporting rally cars and equipment to the rallies. The cars back in 2007, they were the old Ford Focus, but they were a little bit large, and they were trying to make the hobby a little bit, well, it wasn't a hobby, the championship, a little bit cheaper. So they went for the Fiesta. And the engine in the Fiesta was a 1.6, but that was producing 360 brake horsepower. And to relate that to speeds, it would do 0 to 100 miles an hour and back down to 0 again in 4 seconds. And it just takes your breath away when you're actually sat in one. And they do that. It's absolutely amazing. The other thing that they call launch control, whereas you select first gear and you have what they call a hydraulic handbrake. Excuse me, it's not like a normal handbrake. When you pull the handbrake, it stops all the drive to the wheels. So what you do is you pull the handbrake on, that stops the drives to the wheels. You've got it in first gear, you let the clutch out, and then you put your foot down on the accelerator to the floor, and you have a boost control, and you watch that build the boost up. And it builds it up in between 3 and 5 on the gauge. And once it gets to there, you release the handbrake and then change gear as fast as you can. You've no need to hold on tight because you can't do anything. You're thrown back in the seat and you're just stuck there. But it is an amazing thing when they do it. The countries that I went to were France, Germany, Finland, Corsica, Poland, Jordan, Greece, Cyprus, Turkey, went to Wales as well, and Ireland, Italy, and Monaco. So we were all around Europe and slightly into the Middle East. I'll just stop there and see if there's any questions. Or whether you want me to carry.
If you've any questions, if you just want to unmute yourselves, and I'm sure Bob will answer them.
Yeah, it's David here. I might have seen you on the driving days if you've been to the Galloway's driving days. Why, that was interesting. Just a couple of facts that you mentioned about twin barrel, quad barrel carburetor.
4-barrel carburetor, yeah.
Yeah. Does that mean that sort of capacity you don't need to have twin or treble carburetors?
No, it's one carburetor.
Yeah.
And it's actually 4 carburetors in one.
Oh,
it is.
I see.
Yeah, it's a carburetor that sits on top of the engine. It's not at the side of the engine. It sits on top. So when if you were to take the air filter off and look down at it, you would see 4 holes, and that's the barrels of the carburetor, and they work in tandem. So as you put your foot down, it works 2 of them. And once you get past halfway on the accelerator and you're heading for the floor, that means all 4 barrels are having petrol poured into them to feed the engine. Is that
right? Because I know because I know at one time cars were fitted with multiple carburetors, weren't they? Like quad.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ferrari or somebody did something with 6 carburetors. It was something like a V12. Engine, because I know I saw Wheeler Dealer how they all had to be balanced up, but I suppose with a carburetor like you were on about, you've not got all this balancing up business to do, have you?
No, we hadn't. You could put different jets in as well, if you understand that. Different size jets.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, you can change the jets on them, can't you?
That's right. So you can have smaller jets or bigger jets, and that's what we used to do. Depending on the size of the circuit we were racing on. So if it had a longer straight and you needed more fuel in, we'd put bigger jets in, so it would actually get more fuel. The same with the differential as well, because it was a lock diff. We used to weld the diff together, so it was rear wheel drive.
I've heard of limited slip diff. I've heard of limited slip diff.
That's right. Well, instead of being limited slip, we actually usually weld the diff together, so it was locked all the time. So if you actually turn the wheel and put your accelerator down, it would just push the car straight forward. So for me to go into the bend, I've actually got to throw the car sideways.
I was just going to say,
and it's the opposite of what you'd normally do. If you guys have ever been in a car on ice or anything like that, and you start to slide, the automatic reaction is to take your foot off.
Yeah.
Right. But with it being a lock diff, you do the complete opposite. You actually give it more gas, and it will actually pull you over. Give it more gas, and it'll pull you away. Because if you take your foot off, the front of the car just wants to go straight forward because the 2 back wheels are locked together. So you throw the car sideways, give it a foot full of accelerator, full opposite lock, and then you work your accelerator against your lock as you go around the bend. And as you get 3/4 way around the bend, you start to straighten it up, and then you feel it on the straight, and then you're just away again. The speeds weren't that fast. We were only doing sort of 120 down the straights and maybe in between 60 and 80 around a shale bend. But when you get 6 or 8 cars all in a line doing it together, it's quite exciting. It used to be.
Anyway, until somebody pushes you out of the way. This is what. Have you not had any accidents with people pushing you out of the way?
Yeah. Many a time I've ended up on the top rope of a fence that I've not been going just as fast as they wanted me to. So as you're going into the bend, just as you throw the car sideways, that's the time to hit somebody. You'll just.
I was just going to say that's where it can be lethal.
Yeah, you just tap them, And once you've tapped them, they just disappear off to the fence. And
Oh, so you don't actually thrash them, you tap them. You don't actually.
just a gentle tap. That's all it takes.
Oh,
If
I
you
see.
time it right,
Right.
it's just a gentle tap. You don't have to try and, I mean, you can, if they're in front of you and they won't move over, you can push them down the straight. But really, the time to knock them out of the way is just as they're throwing the car sideways. If you just tap the back corner, it either spins the car around or it just shoves them out a bit further, and then you can get alongside them. And then you can use your power to lean against them to get round the corner. So that's the way it used to work.
And did you have to import that Chevy? You said you had a Chevy. Obviously, there's no dealership for Chevy in the UK, is there?
There was a company in Cheshire called Hoodart Racing, and that's where we used to send it. He used to do all the work on the engines. Back in those days, it was like £5,000 for a rebuild or something like that, £5,000 for a rebuild. I'd hate to think what it is now. And there was also a company in Bradford that used to import all the parts. So if we needed carburetors,
right. So all that legwork was taken out to import to Chevy.
Yeah. If we wanted new pistons or anything like that, we used to have what they call a roller rocker cam in them.
Yeah.
And for the cam, it was £1,000, and for the rockers, it was another £1,000. But that was back in the 80s. I'd hate to think what the prices were now. So you can imagine why the deep freeze had to go.
Well, I could see why. And while you're driving, have you been over the Millau Bridge in France and that one between Denmark and Sweden?
Yes, I've been over both of those, yeah.
I bet they're a massive sight, aren't they?
Absolutely. I watched them build the Millau Bridge. I was driving for a company called Montgomery's from Bamber Bridge there, an Irish company. And I was delivering to Spain all the time. You used to have to go through the old village of Millau. And that was like a switchback road, and you went down and down and down and down. And watching them build the Millau Bridge, it was absolutely amazing. And it's British built, that as well. It was a British engineer that did the bridge.
I know it's a British architect, but I didn't know it was a British construction company doing the job.
As far as I know it was, that's what they said. But there was nobody killed building that bridge.
I know, I found that incredible, because I wouldn't like to fall from that height, would you?
No, I mean, it was all right when you were falling. It's when you come to a stop at the end, isn't it, that, but yeah.
Okay, David, has anybody else got any questions for Bob?
Yes, I'm Brian. When you said about the Fiesta, when you used to go 0 to 100 and then back to 0 in 4 seconds, does that not blow the engine up?
No. No, it's specially designed. And when they're doing the launch control, it's a special setting on the engine that they have that you wouldn't have on a standard car.
That's what I was thinking.
It does no harm to the engine at all.
All right, because I was thinking if you tried that in a normal car, you'd just blow it up.
Yeah, you'd just blow the top of the engine off. You would indeed, but no, there's a special setting on the car so it doesn't damage anything. And it has a rev limiter on as well.
There'll be a rev, that's it.
And it actually has a limit on the power as well. The same engine could actually produce more power than 360 or 380. But the FIA have a setting that they put on the engine, and it won't let them have any more power than that.
I bet that's amazing to be sat in that car when it does that.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm very, very lucky to be able to sit in with one of the drivers. And I did a short stage in the forest with them 2 years ago. And it was absolutely amazing. But what was more amazing than the actual power was the braking. They could brake so late and so hard and still have control of the car. It is the work that's done on it is absolutely phenomenal.
Amazing. I bet that cost a fortune though.
They just they do indeed. It's difficult to put a price on them. Very difficult because they do so much and different people want different specs of cars. So it is. There's a car one down from the World Rally car, the one behind James that you're seeing on the picture. That's a World Rally car. There's one down from that, and that's what they call the R2. It has the same engine in, but they use less power. There's not quite as much aerodynamics on it, and that is round about 250,000 to buy.
So the race, is it all Fiestas? They all have to be Fiestas?
No, well, no, it's just the M Sport ones are all Fiestas. It's a Ford backed. It's Ford backed, but we've got in the championship. There's Ford, Hyundai, and Toyota, which are the main four. But there are other people that do run different cars, such as Citroen and stuff like that. But the manufacturers, as far as the main manufacturers, it's Ford, Hyundai, and Toyota. Citroen pulled out 2 years ago. They ran out of money, and they decided that they were going to stop racing.
Because I'll have to get my Citroen Berlingo's hooked up to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got Citroen Berlingo.
They're roomy, that's what I will say about them. They are roomy. So you'll be using carbon ceramic disc brakes, won't you? Carbon ceramic disc brakes all round, won't you?
No clue.
Brake like that.
So out of all the countries you've visited then, Bob, which would you say was the it's going to be hard to say this, which would you say was the nicest scenery wise and being able to drive and things like that? Because I know you've just come back from Finland, and I imagine that being
I've just come back from Lapland, and Lapland is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it had been down to -30 the week before that I arrived. But it was only sort of -16 when I arrived, and the views are absolutely amazing. Obviously, with it all covered in snow, it's a beautiful country. But Corsica, Sardinia, they're beautiful islands. You know, if you wanted to just drive around and take the views in, they are beautiful. And Finland in the summer. It's a beautiful country, because the Finnish rally that they have in the summer is called 1,000 Lakes, because there is literally thousands of lakes in Finland, and it is a beautiful place. Do I have a favorite? I don't really have a favorite, because different places have so many different things that you would like. Going to Greece and Cyprus, you know, it is. I've been very, very lucky to travel those countries in my work, if you will, and to get the views out the truck. It is amazing. But in fact, I sent some photographs home to Rita from Sardinia, and that cost me a holiday, didn't it? Well, we had to go back and
you had to go back.
Yeah, we had to go back. I'd been home a fortnight. We had to go back and have a week there at the hotel. But the hotel were very good to me. It's the one that we were stopping in for the World Rally, and they gave me a good reduction and looked after us. And yeah, it was very good. But it's there's some beautiful, beautiful places we go to, but they all have different values, if you will. Poland's a beautiful place as well. That's really nice. Some of the roads weren't the best in the world, but they're getting better all the time, you know.
How did it compare to Scotland and our countryside?
Right. Okay. Well, myself and Rita, we actually have a motorhome, and we when we go away, we have a basis as well. Was it as nice as Scotland or Ireland?
Yeah.
And we must admit, one of the nicest places we've ever been to is Norway, and that is absolutely amazing in Norway. It's beautiful. But to get to Norway, I'd driven through Holland and Germany and Denmark, you know, so and Sweden as well, because I've been over the big bridge, because Rita hadn't been over the bridge that runs out of Denmark into Sweden. So yeah, some beautiful places.
Is that the one that sort of goes over land and then under the sea, is it?
It does indeed, yeah. It's a tunnel. The tunnel is 10, I think it's 10 kilometers. Was it 10 kilometers? I think it's 10 kilometers long.
Wow.
Just the tunnel bit. That's
just just the tunnel bit, and then you climb out the tunnel, and then you go over the bridge. And it's amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. Obviously, there's not much to see in the tunnel, but once you come out of the tunnel and you start to go over, and we were running that in the trucks, we were going in February, so the sea was mostly frozen over.
What country is that in? That bridge?
That bridge it runs from Denmark to Sweden.
Oh, right.
It runs from Denmark to Sweden. There is
the longest bridge in Europe, that, won't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it does come under that. I'm not 100% sure, but I've driven it about 4 times, and my wife had never been over it, so we said, "Well, do you fancy going over it?" And we were on our way to Norway, and I was going to a road that I wanted to drive there, and it's called the Atlantic Ocean Drive.
Yeah.
And it's 8 kilometers long, and you've got sea at either side, and it has like a half moon shaped bridge that goes across as well. And in the wintertime, the sea comes over the road and splashes, literally it just washes over the road. But in the summertime, it's an absolute beautiful ride. It really is. So
did they charge you to go over the bridges?
Yeah, there is a charge to go over the bridge. I've no idea what the charge is, because I just have a tag in the car. And I just pay afterwards. If I can't afford to go, I just don't go. But yeah, they do charge to go over the bridges. The Millau bridge is a charge on that. I don't think it's that much actually, the Millau. But the Swedish Denmark bridge, I think that's quite expensive, but it's well worth. If you've never been across it, and you enjoy doing that sort of thing and looking at the views and stuff, if you can see the views, that's great. Or if you've got somebody with you that can explain to you, like James does with his walks and his talks, if your vision isn't that good, but you're with somebody that can see, then it's great,
But just for the engineering of it, it'd be great just to go through.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it, how they built that?
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We were talking the other day, weren't we, Bob, about the life of motorsport trucking and the glamour of the World Rally Championship and the Formula One, and people think, oh, what a fantastic job it must be, all the glamorous locations and things that you go to, but it's not all like that, is it?
It's not, James, no, but I mean, what myself and Rita are doing now, we're actually going back to the places where I've been so we can get a chance to have a look round, because basically I'm working all the time. So all I see is a hotel and a service park, or a hotel and a race circuit. And I don't get a lot of time to look round, especially this past year with the COVID. A lot of the times we were locked in the hotels. We weren't allowed to go out. If the restaurant wasn't working in the hotel, then we'd to get meals that were delivered in. But we had a job to do, and that was great. I've no complaints, but you don't get to have a look round wherever you're at if you're locked into the hotel. But
it's not a case of you just picking a truck up, driving it there, and dropping it off, is it? There's a lot more to it than just driving the truck.
Yeah, there is indeed. So when we get to a venue, we end up with a tarmac area, such as a car park, and then we've got to build the hospitalities, the workshops for the cars, and we use awnings that come out of the side of the trailer. We actually build the awnings onto the side of the trailer, and we use it's like do you understand an easy up, where it's like a big tent, if you will, with open sides.
Oh yeah.
And they're about 8 meters.
Gazebo.
8 meters square. Yeah, like a gazebo type thing, but only on a bigger standard. And then once we get those up, we've got to put electric in, we've got to put air in, we've got to put all the toolboxes in, we put a big ground sheet down first. So we've got all that to make. When we used to be sponsored by Ford full time, we got up to about 15 trucks that would go out to one event. And the most cars we ever had at an event was actually 15 cars. So you can imagine how much area we used to have. We were 120 meters long by 22 meters wide. So that's how long we had for the service park. So what we would do, we'd build a hospitality in the middle, and then we'd have places to service the cars on either side. And for all that, we used to take our own generator with us. And then we had, so we had our own power. The only thing we didn't take with us was water, other than bottled water. So we needed a water supply. The rest, we took ourselves, all the electrics, the big generator that ran everything. And two of the trucks had generators on as well. And we used to use those as a standby, just in case the big Jenny went down. We could still service the cars with the standby generators on the trucks. So all the equipment came with us. So we'd start with a piece of tarmac and 120 meters long by 22 meters wide, and then we'd build everything on it. And then once we'd finished doing all the build, the truckies would do another job. Some were mechanics, some worked with tires. Myself, my first job, I was chief washer-upper in the kitchen. So
how different.
I'd drive the truck there, we'd do the setup, and then say, right, Bob, get your gloves on, you're washing up. And we used to be feeding 800 people a day then. There was 180 on the team, plus all the VIP guests, all the drivers and everybody, and we would feed them 3 times a day. So the 180 became 200, and 3 times a day, that's 6 plus a few more. So we were quite busy in them days. There was 2 chefs and me washing up, and I had to keep up with these 2 guys.
Wow.
So,
and no dishwasher.
No dishwasher. No, that was me. It's only me, yeah. Yeah. So, and when the washing up got quiet, I was let out of the kitchen and into the prep room, and I was able to peel potatoes and carrots. So, but it's all case of doing jobs. I did many other jobs as well for M Sport. I used to look after the VIPs, chauffeuring them from hotels, airports, and everything, picking them up first thing in the morning, bringing them to the service area, and then dropping them off at night. And then as the VIPs were flying in, to the airports and everything, I used to run out to the airport, pick them up. And then I might be going out on recovery if one of the cars had a problem and had to go and be picked up. Then it'd be a van and trailer out to wherever they were, get them in the trailer, bring them back, and hopefully get the car going again. And I used to go shopping for the chef as well, or with the chef, but all the teams work together. If we ran out of eggs, I could quite happily go across to Citroen and say, look, I've run out of eggs. Is there any chance we could borrow a dozen? And that's the way it works.
It's a bit like how the army works, isn't it? Everyone just mucks in together.
Absolutely, it was like one big family. Okay, when they're out on the stages, they're battling against each other, but the setup people, if somebody needed a forklift and somebody else had one, it would be borrowed with no problem at all. If somebody had a problem and they needed some help with more hands on deck, then we would go and help them, or they would come and help us. We've had a few storms in our lives as we've gone on. In fact, we had one this year at Rally Monte Carlo. We weren't actually down in Monte Carlo. The service park for that is up in a place called Gap, which is in the French Alps. And we were starting at 5 o'clock the following morning. And we'd sort of just gone to bed round about 9:30, and when we got a call that the service park was being blown to bits. So we were all out of bed, into the vans and down to the service park, and it was like it was like half a hurricane, really. It just ripped through the service park. And now we have blow-up tents that you just literally blow them up, and they stand up, and they're no problem at all. And we have 45-gallon drums full of water to anchor them, and we had 8 of those, and it was picking the drums up and moving them. So that's how bad the wind was. But we were all down there. I stopped all night there in the end, but everybody was helping each other. But the thing about rally is that things just go on, because the service area opposite us, they were actually doing a service on a car. It had had a bad off and it had been damaged. So they had 3 hours to get the car right. And if you can imagine, there was stuff blowing about all over the place. Gazebos flying about and everything. And there was these 6 lads working on this car, trying to get it right. And they did in the end, you know, but everybody helps each other. It's a great community.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The crowd at rallying can stand right next to the tents that we built to watch the service. And the services last in an evening 45 minutes. So they can actually watch 3, 4 cars in service from any team from about 2 feet away from the car. So if you're interested, that's the beauty of rally, that you can get so close to it. And I would be there on it.
Still kind of grassroots, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's very much grassroots, and the drivers, you know, they're absolutely perfect. You know, they'll stand in the chat, and they might have had a real bad day, but somebody wants an autograph, you know, and somebody getting an autograph of one of the people that they've followed maybe for years. It's amazing to watch the looks on the faces. They used to, if they couldn't come in, they'd ask me and say, could you ask such a body, you know, Sebastian Ogier, I'd like his autograph. Could you get that for me? So I go off and I get the autograph and bring it back, you know, and the looks on the faces, especially the children and stuff like that, it's amazing. It was so rewarding doing that. It really was. You know, they think it's a glamorous life as a truckie, but you know, one minute you're putting the floor down, next minute you're cleaning a toilet, and that's how it is. But I love every minute of it, so it's really good. And I'm retired now, but I still want to do motorsport, so we're just trying to do a bit in between as well.
I can remember going watching the rally when it was the RAC Lombard rally, the proper rally over in England, and quite a few times I was up at Grisdale early hours in the morning, and when the cars came through, you were literally feet away. You know, you were spectators, but you're like feet away with no barriers or anything in front, separating you from the car. It was just an amazing experience just to see how fast the cars were going on these slippery forest tracks that you could hardly walk on, let alone drive on. So
yeah, people would stand in front of a puddle so that the rally car went through the puddle and they get wet.
Got soaked.
Yeah, and they could say, whoever it was, Kankinen or whoever, wet me through when I was stood here, you know, and I've got a picture of me dripping. But that's rally fans. It's amazing. There was a guy came to us in Sardinia, and he had 3 big black bin liners. And he came to the gate and he said to me, would it be possible for the drivers to sign these, please? And what he'd actually done, M Sport have a shop where you can buy stuff from. So if part of the car is damaged, they'll actually sell it in the shop for you to buy to keep at home, and that's what people do. And if the back hatch that you lift up and down to put your shopping in on the back of the Fiesta, he actually had 3 of those. He had Sebastian Ogier's, he had Oit Tanaks, and he had Elvin Evans. Oh. And he paid just under €2,000 for these, and he was coming to get them signed. You know, and it's just fanatical, you know. But we got them signed for him, so.
It was like the old days of the 80s when they had the black days of the rally with the old Group B cars, and you used to see the crowds, and they were all sort of covering the track and just moving out of the way at the last minute. And
there is, you know, there's so many stories of people servicing the cars, and you know they've had, I don't know whether I should say this or not, but anyway, they've had parts of fingers, you know, in the cars because people have been that close. They've been trying to touch the car. The car's been doing whatever speed it's been doing, like, you know, and it's you know, but that's how it was, especially in Portugal, and that's why it all got shut down in the end, the Group B and stuff, and they had to make big changes, and they actually stop stages now. If there's too many people or they're not stood in the right place, they won't run the stage. If they think it's not safe, they won't run it.
Yeah, so it used to be crazy when you used to see it, and there was just crowds of people actually on the track and just moving at the last minute. It was
yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I mean it is back in the 80s. If you look at the old footage of Portugal, that's how. And it's not just Portugal. I mean, we stopped going to Poland because of the crowds. That the crowds couldn't be controlled because there was that many people, and it just wasn't safe to run the rally.
So has anybody got any more questions?
No, that's been absolutely brilliant, that, Bob.
Yeah. Are we out of time?
No, we've still got time. I was actually going to mention while Gill's joined us as well.
Right, yeah, go on.
I don't know if Gill wants to unmute herself.
Right, I've done it.
So, yeah, I wasn't sure whether you just wanted to give us a quick chat about how you both decided to come up with the Galloways together.
I didn't.
I know when we first went into lockdown, Jill, you approached me and you said, if there's anything that you can do recording from home, just let you know.
Yeah.
And I think from there, it's like, I bet
It
you
kind of snowballed a bit, yeah, it has, yeah. Well, we did. I mean, I've done talking newspaper for many years for Galloways, and I used to work for Radio Leyland, and in fact, in the first lockdown, I did the breakfast show live from my spare bedroom for about 3 months during the first lockdown. So I had all this equipment, and because when you rang me and said that the talking newspaper was having to stop because the studio was being shut, and I just said, oh, if there's anything I can do, James, and it's kind of snowballed from there a bit, really. Bob's not listening now, he's took his headphones off.
I am listening.
Oh, yeah, okay. And because Bob and I have been mates for a long time, and I knew that because he was furloughed and he had his studio where he is now in his loft all set up and ready to record, and I just said to him, look, two voices are better than one. How do you fancy helping me with? And because it was the What's Going On guide, I think, at first, wasn't it, James, that you said?
I think so, yeah, it was.
Yeah. So yeah, it was, and that's how it started. And Bob and I enjoy doing radio and stuff like that. And he just said, I've got this idea, what do you think? So I said, well, go on then. And we came to see James just before Christmas. And you said you thought it was a good idea. So we spent a lot of time trying to put the show together, the pilot show, which is what went out. Which is what went out at the beginning of March, the one that you can hear at the moment. But the problem is, of course, Bob disappears for months at a time.
Thank you.
And, so we're having to sort of spend, he's home for a couple of weeks now, we're having to spend the time doing as many shows as we can so that when he does disappear, we've got one for you every month. But we just enjoy doing it. We both like music and we're both into radio, aren't we?
We absolutely. And it's amazing doing it for you guys.
Yeah, we love it. Absolutely.
It really is.
Because we've worked for radio stations before and well, I'm not really into media people, but doing it for Galloways, we know that we're doing something that's special, and we really, really enjoy doing it, don't we, Bob?
We do, yeah. We absolutely love it. We argue like cat and dog.
We've had a bit of a do this morning, haven't we, Chuck?
Yeah, we've had a bit of a splatter, yeah.
The ones
so you were recording each other remotely when you did that last one, because you're not allowed to be in the same studio.
Well, we're volunteering, so we are. Yeah.
Because we're volunteers.
There's different rules on that, David, for volunteers and things. But I've listened to, obviously, the first one, the second one, which is going to go out in 1st of April.
Yeah.
And the last one that Jill and Bob sent me was one that they did, a special one for the Charles Bonnet syndrome, which we've got Pam does that here, and we've got Denise in as well, who are part of the Charles Bonnet support group. And I've listened to that one, and that just blew me away. The quality and everything on that was just absolutely fantastic. So
thanks, James.
If you keep listening, that one will be coming out the 1st of May.
Yeah.
So a little bit of time to wait for it, but it's definitely well worth the wait on it. Is that one?
Thank you.
So,
Well, the one we've been working on this morning is for June. So
yeah.
Oh, that's so far ahead.
So
Well, we have
we'll
to
soon be
because-
working on the Christmas one.
BBC,
So.
they record stuff for Christmas now. It's like
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, we've been thinking about Christmas already, haven't we, Bob?
We have indeed, yeah.
Yes.
No, but what it is, we do everything remotely. We put the show together remotely, and then we put 2 days, normally a Friday and a Saturday. So we get together in a studio, and we have a social distancing thing, like, and everything. I have a big stick I keep beating her off with, and
Oh, right.
no, it's
It's
socially
so charming, you know. Don't be fooled by that lovely smile. He's an absolute horror at times.
But, I mean, one thing that we could do with everybody's help with is if you've any ideas or any articles or anything like that you would like to see in the show, just give us a shout, and because, like I say, the show is for you guys.
Yeah, it is.
And
absolutely, doing it for you. So if there's any input that you want into it,
I mean, if you give us sort of an item that you would like to see in one of the shows, we'll go away and do the research, or I'll go away and do the research, and then Bob and I will get together. And I mean, when where he is now and where I am now, this is regular for us, isn't it? Talking like this, you in your studio and me in mine.
Yeah.
And we plan the list of music. We always have a theme for the music, so all the music has a theme running through it. And so any items you'd like us to cover, any kinds of sight loss or any kinds of issues to do with sight loss you'd like us to cover, just get in touch with James and he'll pass it on to us, and we'll research it and make a show into it, make it into the part of the show.
The most important thing is you guys.
Absolutely.
It's not us. We're just presenting the show the best way we can.
And we get a lot of fun out of it, don't we?
We get a lot of fun about it.
I just butt in a minute.
Yeah, of course you can.
I just thought of something then. Like, I've been blind now for 30 years, just over.
Okay.
And I went to see a professor in Scotland when I first were blinded. What it is, I've severed the optic nerve at the back of the eye. And I'm just wondering if you wanted to do a show on how technology is going, how far they are making the blind to be able to see again. Because my professor said to me, by the time I'm 40, I've probably got the technology to make me see again. I'm 55 now, he's not been back in touch.
when he does, Brian, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll have a party. No, but to tell you, the show we're doing at the moment, it won't give it all away, but we're actually doing a show, and it's got a lot to do with glaucoma, and it's got a lot to do with the apps that you can get on your phone now, that you can actually test the pressure of your eye.
Well, it's not. No, it's not. They're still working on it. They're not. It's not actually.
They are, but it's something they are developing.
Yeah,
we're at it already.
You are.
I said we're at it already.
Well, it's probably a good point of call, isn't it, before going to see a doctor? You know.
Well, what they're saying about this thing is it's to do with the ocular pressure, and that it's some. It's not to do with it. He's not a doctor, this guy. He's a physicist, so he's working on the fact that it's to do with sound waves and pressure, and it's quite fascinating, really. We tried to make it quite straightforward, explaining it. But we tend to go away and research, don't we, Bob? And then
we do, and
have a look.
What we do, like we did this morning, we've run through what we were going to say, and it just didn't work, and it didn't sound good for radio. And I am dyslexic, so Gill helps me an awful lot with. I've got a lot of reading to do to make it flow properly and to be able to understand it as well. So we've altered round the way some things have been said. It's still got the main content, but we just alter it round a bit. So it's user friendly basically, and it's James that gives us all this information.
Yeah, that keep feeding it as James, because the rate we're going through it, we need a lot more. But the Charles Bonnet thing, I didn't know anything about Charles Bonnet until we did the research for the show, and I was amazed, and talking to Pam and one thing and another, and just things like we've done we did one show on something called Blind Square, where you can just go out and point your phone and it'll tell you where you are. And I think technology, not necessarily what you were saying, Brian, about technology for trying to make people who've lost their sight regain their sight, but certainly assistive technology is unbelievably advanced now.
And what we're really interested in is if you guys do things in a certain way that helps you, it possibly help others as well. So if you'd like to get in touch with Galloway's with any of your little tricks or what you do or what makes you feel better or more at ease, if you do away, you know, it may be just a bit of bus stop. It could be anything, the way you do your shopping or the way you remind yourself to do things. We're pretty new to this, so we're learning all the time, and we're sort of treading very carefully. We don't want to upset anybody, but we do want to give the information out.
That's it. When I was training with my guide dog, I taught the trainers something, because I'm the only one that they've ever seen who walks with a guide dog, but I use a white walking stick as well. I don't need it, but I use it. So as I get to a curb, I can feel the curb, or if I'm passing a car out, I can feel where it is. And it just helps so much. And if I'm crossing a road, I put the stick out first in case a bicycle's coming. And many of bicycles, I've heard them slam the brakes on when my stick goes out.
Well, they shouldn't be going so fast then, should they?
Bicycles will never. Supposed to have a bell on, and they don't use that tongue in your head to say, I'm coming.
I know that's annoying, that, because I go walking, and sometimes if I'm going through the park and somebody comes up behind you on a bicycle and they've no bell and they're going, excuse me. And I always turn around and say, get a bell.
They never give you a heart attack when you can't see. They come right to side. Excuse me, they never jump out your skin.
There is somebody in the meeting now that has listened to the show a few times, and I think she was saying she was dancing around the kitchen listening to it, really enjoying the music.
Well, we do try to go for music that's uplifting, don't we, Bob?
Can I just say how much
go on, Mosey.
Loved it. Love the radio show. I've listened to it 3 times. Sing along, dance along every time. I think it's absolutely wonderful what you're doing. Love it.
Thank you.
Well, I've just enjoyed the talk, Bob, because I used to go to Oulton Park a lot. Younger, I did do go-karting a lot, but I also used to go watch car racing at Oulton Park, and even went to Formula One. So I love the whole thing. Listening to you talk is absolutely wonderful. It's taken me right back to going to the Grand Prix and going to the races. But I mean, that's great. Even just including things like that a little bit, telling people about what you are, what you do and your life, Gill. Share it with us. Let us know, and perhaps other people who are listening can, like, who was it? We just said about his walking stick. We can give you ideas of things that we find useful. That help us. I use Soundscape. Who was it? Well, it wasn't David who said he uses his walking stick. They're all ideas. Love that idea of sharing, because that's what it's all about. But you share your love of radio with us, which is wonderful. Loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's a great pleasure to
on the different sites, wouldn't it? Thank you. On the different sites of Galloway's, perhaps having a one episode at Morecambe, one episode at Preston, another episode at...
Yeah, that's something that we have been thinking about, because obviously COVID has stopped us doing a lot of things. We have, we'll let you into a secret now. We've done a show about Broomy Sunshine, which James hasn't got yet. But we've done a standalone show, because the monthly show is the Galloway's Get Together show, but we've done a standalone show for when they reopen Broomy Sunshine, and all the songs about sunshine.
Yeah, because that'll get more publicity for us, won't it?
Well, that's why we've done it. But obviously we've not finished it. We've got a few tweaks to do on it, haven't we, Bob?
We don't know when that can open. I mean, it could be next year for all that we know.
Well, this is it. We've not timed the show. We've just let it be. We've interviewed Joseph, who is there. But our plan is to, when everything opens up again, is to become, hopefully Bob won't be globetrotting quite as much as he is now. And we'll go out and come to the groups and come to Broomy Sunshine and maybe talk to people and do interviews with people that we can then use on the radio show. It's in its very, very early stages, is the show at the moment. And we want to develop it as we go along, really, with James's help, because James is invaluable to, you know, to providing us with content and stuff. So that's the plan, is that Galloway's get together will be embedded in Galloway's itself, and we'll get to know all of you and come and see you in your.
And then at Penwitham, you'll be able to bring, because of all the parking space, you'll be able to bring your car and your lorry, won't you?
It's not your lorry, is it, Bob? You can bring, actually, I have a motorhome as well, so we both have motorhomes, don't we?
Yeah, the shows are all about you guys, and it's really important that
we know what you
that's
want.
How it is.
Yeah,
Not
we
so much
want
about
to know
us,
what you
know.
want.
That's right.
Jill,
Go on.
can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
How about one with one of the trustees, and I nominate Carl Harrison?
Right. I'm making notes, by the way, you lot, while you're giving me ideas.
I run Preston Macular Group, and he spoke to me last week, and I was really low because I had another dip in vision, and he was absolutely tremendous on the phone. Yeah.
And he's a trustee of Galloway's, is he?
Yeah, he is, but he's also the peer support link working out at the Macular Society.
Okay.
But because he's got Stargardt's, he's brilliant.
Because he's got what, sorry?
He's got like a genetic macular dystrophy. But yeah, I think an interview with one of the trustees would be brilliant.
Yeah, right. I'm writing all this down. I mean, obviously, when we've done a Charles Bonnet show, we could probably, a macular is quite a wide field as well, isn't it? So we could perhaps do something on macular at some point. Yeah. But we've got, did you say you ran a peer support group somewhere, Denise?
Yeah, I run Preston Macular Group, but honestly, no, Carl's the person for that.
Right. Okay.
You know, because we don't always get to hear from the trustees as well. So sometimes it's nice to put a voice to a trustee who's incredibly hard behind the background.
Yeah. Well, we're open, aren't we, Bob, to all sorts of ideas, because we're chucking out shows at a rate of one a week at the moment, aren't we? Well,
and
you get to catch up.
You'll be very pleased to know as well that Stuart Clayton,
Stuart's given. Yeah, we've had an interview with Stuart Clayton.
We've had, and we broke it up. How many interviews is there, Jill? How many did you break it up into?
There's two in the next show. That the first two go out in the next show on the 1st of April, and then we've put two parts of it into the Broomy Sunshine show, because he talks about making, how Broomy Sunshine became what it was, and then a little story about something that he saw. And then we've just put two more in this show for June. So there'll be two in the April show. The May show is the Charles Bonnet show, and the June show, we've just done the other two that Stuart, the interview, because I talked to Stuart for about 3/4 of an hour and got quite a lot of stuff that we could use. It's amazing what you can do with an editing program to break up a talk. So.
And we'll be getting James in a corner as well.
Yeah, we're going to have James. James is going to have to come on one of the shows.
When we're allowed to, you can. I think a good way for that would be maybe when the restrictions are lifted, come on one of the walks that we do.
Yes, well, that's what we're into.
We'd love to do that. People on the walks as well.
Stuart suggested that we went to one of the driving days as well, which Bob would love, and I'm pretty keen.
Yeah, I just thought of something just before you mentioned that. I was thinking when we're able to get the driving day going, I don't know whether we'll get one this year or not, but I was wondering, Bob, with your contacts at M Sport, whether they might want to come down and just do a display, just to show the cars off.
I can ask.
If it's just like a static display or something.
Yeah, I can ask.
That's pie in the sky. I think,
is ask for you.
If you don't ask, you don't get, do you? So.
You don't, no. And it's very true. And it's a family up at M Sport, and it literally is. It's a family. Malcolm Wilson, his son, his wife, and it is run as a family, and he knows everybody, and he knows everybody by the name, and he has time for everybody. And after every rally, either himself or the team principal we'll go around to every member of the team, shake their hand and say thank you very much. And that's the way it is.
And they don't
That's
just
what
do
happens.
that, do they, Bob?
No, I mean, you know, they really are kind.
I'm
They
just
are
thinking
kind
about
people.
the car
The car?
and the fact that people's names get put on the car.
All right, yeah, I've been very, very lucky. I don't like magic, but anyway, in 2017, M Sport won the World Championship, and that was against Hyundai, Toyota, and Citroen, all the big things. And a small team like M Sport actually won the World Championship. So what they did, every member of M Sport name was put on the car, and it was, and they put it into a frame, and they got the drivers to sign all the frame photographs that they were of the car. So I'm very lucky to have my name on a front wing of a World Rally car.
So on that note, I'd like to thank you, Bob, for coming along and talking to us. Also, Gill, for talking to us about the Get Together show. Just let you know that on the 16th of April, we've got Professor Don Kurtz coming to chat to us about astronomy. He's an astronomy professor, very well respected in his field. And also what he's going to talk to us about is the current Mars expedition that's going on. So that's on the 16th of April. Absolutely fantastic guy to listen to, puts all the astrophysics or whatever it is, puts it in really simple to understand terms, and you know, it's really, really good to listen to. So that's on the 16th of April. So all that's left to say is thank you both to Bob and Gill. Thanks everyone for coming along.
Thank you very much, Bob and Gill.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brilliant.
An absolute pleasure. Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah,
and
nice to meet you.
I hope you're all going to stay safe, and hopefully you enjoy the radio shows that,
we will.
that me and Jill put together. Yeah.
Thank you very much to both of you.